Hey y'all, welcome to the Business of Gaming podcast. I'm Josh with Game Haven Guild, and today we're with Jeremy Albright, the owner of SciFi Factory, which has two locations, one in Lake Worth, Texas, and the other one that we're currently at in Keller, Texas. Jeremy, what got you into gaming?
I've been into gaming pretty much since childhood. So I started with, Pokemon cards and playing the game a little bit, in early middle school, like 10, 11 years old, kind of evolved into Yu-Gi-Oh! In its original format. And then really just took off with all things gaming from there. As an adult, I've stepped into what I spend the most of my time playing when I have time to play is D&D. So I've gotten all over the spectrum as far as, TCGs and tabletop games. So
Now, this store is relatively new to you. You just purchased it within the last year?
we did. My wife and I bought the store in July.
And tell us about that process of one, deciding to own a store, and then why buy an existing one versus start your own?
Yeah. So funny enough, my wife and I, we kind of like joke about it now because we've always had these talks amongst ourselves of, if I could ever have a game store, I would have a game store. But the starting one and buying one are two very different things. And so one night we were just sitting on the couch, just kind of like scrolling, still, chasing dollars, looking for passive income opportunities, if you will. And so we were just scrolling a website that has businesses listed for sale. And if I'm being totally honest with you, we were looking at laundromats, anything to just, for a little bit of extra cash. And these businesses they try to do a really good job of keeping the business anonymous on the website. But we scrolled over to a local game store, one location in Keller, one location in Lake Worth. And we've actually been frequent customers at the stores over the years. And so my wife clocked it pretty quick. And she was like, I think this is SciFi Factory. And I had to agree. I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure you're right. I'm pretty sure it is. And so we just kind of like made that initial like, hey, let's just reach out. What worst case scenario, they tell us to kick rocks. And then we can go on about our merry way. But we reached out, had a few conversations, and then got a little bit more serious about it. And then we decided, you know what, I think we're going to take the plunge on this and went for it. And here we are now.
Did you do much exploring of what it would be like to start your own?
I looked into what are the things that people don't think of when they're starting a business, so I could make sure I understood the potential pitfalls or challenges that we would experience in that process. And it's super expensive to begin with, right? Like you need a lot of capital just to get your foot in the doors. And then with the state of games, specifically trading card games these days, it's an established man's game for the most part. So it's very difficult for people who don't already have really good relationships with distribution to get in at all, much less get enough to do well. And so it made it a much easier decision for us to be like, if we are going to do this, we're going to have to buy. Otherwise, starting our own is going to be so much harder because then you got to spend the time finding a location, getting the capital to get started, hoping that you can even get an account with the distribution center, much less get the allocations necessary to be successful.
Could you walk us through the process of buying a business?
Yeah, so we were on weekly calls. It was mediated by a third party, and weekly calls to kind of like talk through, I guess the initial part is, hey, do you have the money? And of course, and without going into too much detail there, if I'm being completely honest with you, that was the hardest part. So let's not mince words about the difficulty of finding money, especially in this economy. But we found a unique opportunity that allowed us to get our hands on enough cash to kind of like make the initial offer. And then we are incredibly grateful to be surrounded by friends and family who trust us enough that we kind of went fundraising amongst our family members. And so my brother-in-law is involved. My best friend's mom is involved. And so my in-laws, my wife's parents are involved. And so it was very much a community village effort. And without them, we wouldn't be here today. And so they helped us kind of get the money part of the conversation taken care of. But after that, it's really a lot of there's a lot to talk about. You've got to talk about the employees. You've got to talk about the landlords because there are 2 locations, so it's more than one every time. We have to talk about the accounts with the distribution centers. So, kind of make sure there was a very dedicated effort by the previous owner that I'm incredibly grateful for, of contacting distribution and saying, please give him everything from a relationship standpoint that I had. Let's not miss a beat so that the store can continue to be successful. And then it was kind of just, chat. And then closing day comes, and then you kind of make it work from there.
How long was it from, hey, I think this is SciFi Factory, to you having the keys?
I think we got the deal done in about 60 days. So a little faster than usual. We knew we wanted it. And so we were like, no need to spend too much time on it. And so we got all the financials, kind of went over everything, made the decision pretty quick. And then it was just kind of like, almost like a real estate deal at that point of like, all right, do the numbers work? Okay, cool. We're itching to close. Let's go. Let's, how fast can we do this?
Well, and when you start your own business, there's kind of a ramp up and you have time to get used to it, a rhythm before you even open it. You're day one going and you already got people coming in for products.
Yeah.
What is that first week, month like of all of a sudden now you own 2 stores?
It was incredible for us. So our very first day was Thursday, July 24th. It was a relatively normal Thursday, nothing too crazy. Obviously, incredibly overwhelming day from an emotional standpoint, but from a business standpoint, just another day as usual. But then Friday, July 25th, was actually the release of a Magic the Gathering set, Edge of Eternities. And it was the first Magic set that they had released in over a year, because they do this Universes Beyond thing. And so pure Magic players were so excited that they came out in droves to support that. And again, kudos to the previous owner for kind of making sure that we were set up with product for the release that day. And it was insane. It was an incredible weekend right off the bat. We went from 0 to 100 out of the frying pan and into the fire, and it's been chaos ever since, but it's been incredible chaos.
So you're about 6 months in now. What has been the biggest thing that has surprised you in these last 6 months?
I think the most surprising thing for me, I guess surprising is a really good word for it. As a relative gamer myself, I didn't spend a lot of time in game stores. It was very much at friends' houses and things like that. So I'm aware of a community, but I wasn't necessarily diving headfirst into it. I think the most surprising thing was how big and how diverse this community is. These people come from all walks of life. No one has anything in common with each other except for their games. And to see them put any of the divisive nonsense from the world to the side to come together to play these games together, and really, really appreciate each other was incredible for us.
What has been the biggest surprise from you thought you were getting into versus what ended up actually being something in the business since you took it?
So I think the biggest surprising challenge for us was finances from a working capital standpoint. We were given really, really good information to help set us up for success, but my goals are a little bit different than the previous owner. And so the goals that I'm trying to achieve, I knew were going to take more money, didn't necessarily know how much and like when it was to be dispersed and things like that. So we've definitely encountered a couple of challenges there, but we're incredibly grateful for the way that we've managed to maneuver it all, and we're working through it, and we're already out on the other side of it, and so we're in a much better place. Right? It was just kind of just learning experiences.
Were there anything in particular you wanted to change to either make it a little more unique or a little more your style in the store?
Yeah. So I actually, previous to owning the store, I spent 13 years in retail management working for Costco. And so I learned a lot about, merchandising, how things need to be set up, right? How they need to be displayed, all that stuff. So I think the biggest changes that I was willing to make were really just the aesthetics of the store, how the product is laid out, how the shelves are laid out, where you shop, where you don't shop. So that was where I felt like I could make the biggest impact the fastest. And then other than that, it was really just taking in a lot of the ideas and opinions from the members of the community, really the leaders of the individual communities, having lots and lots of good conversations with them to help understand what it is their communities are looking for in a game store, and trying to incorporate all of that to where, right, you can't make everybody happy all the time, but you can certainly try. And so that's been a huge fun undertaking for us.
Speaking of the communities and the various communities within the store's community, how do you spend your time, or what activities are you doing to help either build those communities, rebuild, or continue to grow what you're giving?
Yeah, so we support, I think it's like 13 or 14 different communities here at the store. We've got, Warhammer, Star Wars Shatterpoint, D&D. There's another one for Marvel. I can't really remember off the top of my head, but like several strictly for tabletop and wargaming. And then we've got, 10 or 11 trading card games that we support as well. This particular store already has a very strong Pokemon community, a very strong One Piece community, and a relatively strong Yu-Gi-Oh community. What I wanted to do was, let's turn our weaknesses into strengths. And so some of the other games that we felt like we could really grow in were games like Gundam, Digimon, Magic, really. So there was the previous owner and previous management had a very strong Magic community here at the store. They kind of went somewhere else at one point. And so we're kind of building that from scratch, which it's ironic to us because it's the largest and oldest trading card game out there. And so having to build a community from scratch of the oldest game on the market has been an interesting challenge for us, but we're having a lot of fun doing it too.
What do you see coming in the next 6 months or a year that you think is going to be your most challenging thing?
If I'm being totally honest with you, the potential economic landscape that we're currently and potentially futurely navigating, very curious to see kind of like where people end up, right? We don't know where anything's going to go, right? Every day seems like it's something new. But I will say, on the flip side of that, while things are incredibly, mysterious in the future, there's also something that feels very certain of, it doesn't like, and for the communities themselves, they don't care what's going on out there. They will come here. And that's what we wanted to provide for them is despite what's going on out there, everyone is welcome here. It doesn't cost any money. These guys play their games completely for free. I see no reason to try to squeeze them for any extra dollars when they're already being squeezed for those dollars elsewhere. Just come here and hang out, right? I don't care. Stay as long as you like.
Well, if you were looking at this with fresh eyes, having now owned it for 6 months, what would you be telling yourself a year ago, or even 60 days before you took the keys? Oh, be sure and think about this.
Definitely, probably to kind of circle back to the working capital concept of like, hey, make sure that you already have this much extra money flying around. Because and it's ironic because like I'm making it seem like a challenge, but it's really a very positive pitfall of, we came in and things did so well so quickly that we actually were able to get more product than what we anticipated. And that's a wonderful problem to have in this particular industry. And so I was like, it's really just, okay, this is going to go really well. Go find more money so you can buy more product, because that's what people want. People want the product. They want to pay where they play.
Marketing seems to be a hot topic with a lot of game stores these days. What are you doing to help build the community and drive people in? What are you finding is working and what's not working?
We've definitely intentionally pushed social media a lot heavier than what was done in the past. We actually have kind of a dedicated social media manager, if you will, that is really pushing our Facebook, and we've actually created an Instagram. We're treading carefully, but we may dive into the TikTok world. So we're definitely understanding that it's not necessarily the established members of the community. They don't spend a lot of time on social media, but the younger community does. And that's kind of our goals, not just for the store, but for the games themselves. If the games want to continue to have the longevity that they've had in the past, they have to continue finding younger and newer players. And so we're utilizing social media in that way. And then just taking advantage of like opportunities to kind of like put things on sale. So, just really advertising these big, like, for example, we had anime product that had been sitting for a while. So we discounted it to like 90% off. And that was what it took. And that was what it took. And they came in and bought it. Right. But, we blasted that all over our social media platforms, and people who have followed the store for a while, but haven't really been here in a while, start to see posts like that, right? You put a little bit of money into the Facebook advertising, and you start to see it really spread out. And then people are like, oh, wow, I haven't been here in like 6 months or a year. I saw that you had stuff on sale, right? And so taking advantage of things like that. And then hopefully one day we can kind of really expand the advertising budget. I've got big dreams of a billboard on I-35. So we'll see if it's in the budget one day, but that's the goal.
For someone looking to get in the industry, either start a store or make their own game, something along those lines, what advice would you have for them on getting into the industry?
Yeah, I think having a very large network of people who play the games regularly and are involved in the communities, I don't want to say at a corporate level, but like definitely involved legitimately with the communities, right? So like my Pokemon community leaders are dedicated. They are signed up with the Pokemon, like with the Pokemon company, right? So, and all the games have that opportunity available. So they're either signed up as a judge, signed up as a community leader, having yourself a network of people like that, because when you're starting a store, it's incredibly difficult just to get people to come in and shop. Having people to come play is a really, really good first step. So I would say that's a big, big piece of the puzzle.
Thank you for taking the time to talk to us.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you.